Hey Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over that CPI data, guys. So we do see that altcoins are having a little bit of a green morning here, but more importantly, let's jump to that consumer price index, that measure of inflation. And what we do see is that there was an expectation of 0.3% increase, but in fact we got 0.2, which means that inflation rose slower than expected, still rising, but rose slower than expected. And same thing with the year over year. We got 3% instead of 3.1%. The last reading was 4%. So that's a solid drop year over year in inflation. And guys, we can also see that we did have, these type of core measurements, right? Which is a food and energy. And so that was 0.2%. The consensus was 0.3%, previous was 0.4%, and so that's a good reading. We also got 4.8 year over year, which is still incredibly high, okay? We want it to be around 2%, at least 3%, and so 4.8% is still too high according to the Fed. But this is year over year. The consensus was 5%, so it did beat market expectations, and the previous reading was 5.3%. So guys, we're on the right trajectory. The Fed's one of the Fed members came out, KASHKARI, and he did kind of make a little bit of a spooky speech about the Fed potentially increasing rates some more. And so, although we had a good news day on the inflation data, which should have pumped markets quite strongly. This guy just came out and squashed it as soon as the data came out. So, it could just make the markets a little bit uneasy until they sort it out for themselves. But overall, I would say it's a good reading there. So there you have it. If you came here looking for results on the CPI data, there you have it. Guys, let's go ahead and jump straight to the Bitcoin chart. As you can see, I do have the 1 hour chart up. Here in this green box down here is just a zone which I wouldn't mind if we just tapped it if we were going to continue to fly. So this is actually the 2 week and the weekly pivots just combined into a box. And if we did just come back and tap that and then go on our way, I would be perfectly happy with that. There's nothing that's going to break my heart. And if we had a flash wick all the way down to the weekly Bollinger Bands midline, which I have here just drawn as a straight line, just as a projection of where it could be going, then I also would have no real qualms about that as long as we stayed above this, kind of $29,000 area pretty solidly. Then even if we drift down here, I'm just not going to be too worried. I would be thinking that we're just grabbing some liquidity, kind of a grab and go, okay? Break down below 27,000, and I think it's a new game that needs to be played. Now, what you can see here is that I have marked out on these 1 hour candles a potential inverted head and shoulders. And I'll just note that we had exactly the same thing over here. Okay, guys, we had exactly the same thing over here, and you can see sometimes we get these weird little spikes and stuff, right? And so if we get a weird little spike or even a deep one, it doesn't mean that it's game over. As long as we close candles above 30,800, this pattern is going to remain valid. And you can see that we do have a little bit of a diagonal here. In fact, I should probably just draw that out for you, because this could give us an indication that if there is going to be some type of a pullback, maybe there is this little path right here that could be marked out. Sorry, I was exaggerating it earlier. But of course, we could push through that. But if you just look at this wick and this wick, then it really wouldn't be too weird for us to do something like this and then go, or potentially even just do this, come back down, shake out the bulls, and then shake out the bears, and then continue to go, right? And so this is also something that's possible here. But what I'd just like to point out is that I really want to maintain this area around 29,000, and that I am looking at this pattern to potentially fulfill its range to 31,000, maybe 900. And then I am aware that we could actually come down and tap that 29, and even just scarily tap 27 if we wanted to. There really isn't anything preventing that from happening. But overall, I will give you the levels that we should be watching for. Uh, let's go ahead and jump to the 6 hour just to get an idea of what these new levels are going to look like. And here you can see I've drawn the momentum pool on the 6 hour, which is closing in 3 hours. So we have a little bit of time there. And you can see that we are above the volatility pivot. Okay, we are above the pool currently. And if we do close some candles above 30,778, then we will have secured this area on the 6 hour, and I will consider that there's a higher likelihood that we're going to pump and perhaps even visit that $31,000 area, and maybe even the high 31,000s off of this move. Now, if we do re-enter the pool, which you can see that we already have a Darth Maul candle up and down, if we do re-enter the pool, then it could take a couple 6 hour candles to really choose our direction. And I really wouldn't be bearish unless we're under the volatility pivot at 30,400. So again, above 30,800, my bias is strongly to the upside. Below 30,400, my bias is strongly to the downside. And then inside of the pool, we just trade it back and forth, just clever little alpha monkeys, just being totally neutral here. And then also, if we get, kind of wedged in between the pool and the neutral point of control, that's also just kind of neutral territory, although it will be slightly leaning bullish, okay, because of that volatility pivot. It's just that we will have lost some momentum as well. And so we just have to be aware that it could be a turnaround there. So again, looking pretty good to me. We already did, in fact, with that Darth Maul candle to the downside, check back to the volatility pivot on the 6 hour, and we did fill the pool. So there's nothing stopping this from just going, assuming that the market gains its confidence, maybe puts in a couple 4 hour candles, maybe a couple 1 hour candles, and then decides to do a launch. But again, if KASHKARI just spooked the market with his weird little speech that he came out with after the CPI data was released, then we could visit our range lows here at the bearish control zone, somewhere around 29,900-ish. And of course, losing that, we could retest the weekly and the 2-week pivot down here. Okay, so that's our game plan. And the good thing is that you have lines in the sand, okay? You can really take a look at this and say, aha, these are the lines in the sand that I have. And again, this is on a closing basis, so we have 3 hours left. Plenty of time for you guys to just to pay attention and see what the market is doing and kind of strategize for yourselves. Let's go ahead and just throw on the daily. The daily is quite similar. Of course, it is going to be on a daily closing basis, so that's going to be the end of the day. I don't know if the move might be over by then, but it's moving slow as molasses right now. But what you can see is that on a daily basis, general continuation is above 30,900, and we actually have just like a micro pool down here. So in fact, I'm just borrowing the general continuation. This is the actual pool on the daily. So above 30,649, the day is bullish. And in fact, we're in the bullish control zone. Bulls have control of the chart above 30,700. So yes, the 6-hour has a higher standard of 30,800, but the daily is saying that we're in the bullish control zone already. We're above the pivot. We're above the pool. We're actually in the bullish control zone. Why don't you take a chance on that long, okay? And if I throw the Bollinger Bands midline on there, you can see that we're above the Bollinger Bands midline, okay? So this looks very supportive, in fact. And so there's nothing for me to be bearish on the day about, okay? But the thing that we do have to remember is that if we do violate the pool, then it's going to get a little bit dicey under there, under 30,600. And if we do violate the pivot under 30,200, which is a little bit more wiggle room than the 6-hour, then we could be talking about that downside and testing the bottom of this area before we test the top, okay? And again, that's on a daily closing basis. Guys, I am going to just post those 1-hour charts in the group Discord from now on. And so if you are a scalper or a sniper, then you're going to want to visit the Discord. But for the daily, I'll keep doing that on the YouTube as well. Guys, there was over 200 people who viewed yesterday's video and only 5 likes. What's up with that, guys? Just give me a throw me a bone every once in a while. Let's see here. Let's go to a review of the last. Let's do a review of the last 1 hour that I did show, just so we can get a little bit of truth in advertising, a little bit of transparency there, and let's just see how did we do on that razor thin 1-hour pool that we had. And as you can see, we would have been back here at that time. And so we were able to take this long to the upside. We were under the volatility pivot. We were re-entering the pool. We were able to take this short. We bounced off the neutral point of control, so we could have recrossed again. We did hit that volatility pivot once again, re-entered the pool, and that was just kind of a net kind of wash kind of thing there, kind of a stopped out. Not really, but it's just, again, like the pool was too narrow to trade by itself. This was actually the real setup that we had, unless we were to get above the pivot, above the pool, right? And that was right here. So above the pivot, above the pool, then we could take that long. You could see that you could have stayed in that long. You would have gotten an epic trade off of that. And then it just burnt out because it was above the bullish control zone. We came back down below the pivot, re-entered the pool. We could take that trade down here. And then we bounced back up, and what you can see is that now we're just taking off. So we had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really decent trades off of yesterday's 1-hour pool, guys. So, hey, pretty good. Alpha Fam, you guys are killing it. And we can also do a review of the daily just to get a perspective on that one. And look at that. Look at that. So again, this is the previous pool, and you can see that we were over here, and we would have been re-entering the pool, and then you could have taken that long to the other side. It came back, and then you could have taken this epic long right here, and look, it respected the pool, right? These levels were very well respected. Even now, we're respecting these older levels. And so, guys, like, the system is absolutely working. Of course, if we, had continued to drop down, then, it was possible that you could have stayed in that short, but you would probably want to take some profit here, or if we got a bounce, then you want to turn to the upside because we would be above the pivot and re-entering the pool. You take a chance right there, and then you continue that long because you're above the pivot, okay? So just some principles there. Anyway, I just want to show you that we did have some highly successful trades off of yesterday's setup, and it's continuing to go. Maybe you're going to get the epic move, okay, guys? And yeah, I think that deserves a like on the video. It does help me with the algorithms. I don't know exactly what YouTube does, but it's really hard for my videos to push through. And so I do appreciate those of you who leave comments or a like. Just appreciate you guys. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. That's your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.